Traditional wooden snowshoes come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and they come with all sorts of different type of bindings on them. This particular pair has what they call a lampwick binding. It's one of my more favorite bindings. It's very simple. You can do it yourself quite easily. So should you have a pair of snowshoes without a pair of bindings, you can improvise with a lampwick setup similar to this. You're probably wondering where you can get lampwick at. I guess at one time you could get it just about anywhere. Now if you go to a hardware store and you're lucky enough to find lampwick, it's in little short pieces for lamps. But if you look hard on the internet, you can still find bulk lampwick. You can either buy the roll here, or some of the places sell it in a smaller quantity. You need about, I'd say about 18 feet to do a pair of snowshoes, 9 for each side. You might be able to get away with a little less, but it's always good to have a little bit more. So if you do a search on the internet for bulk lampwick, I'm sure you'll come up with it. This happens to be 3/4 of an inch wide. How lampwick binding works is just the toe of your shoe goes in the loop there on the front. And you're going to put that just behind the toe hole of your snowshoe. This here opening would be for your toes to bend as you walk in the snowshoes. And these straps here wrap around the back of the shoe and then around front, and you would tie that off. So snowshoe binding is only really attached at the toe. You want it to that the boot can pivot. Now the way I tie my lampwick bindings is I get a pair of boots, put it on there, like I said, just before that toe hold, and then I'm going to take my approximately 8-9 foot section of lampwick, and I'm going to lay that across so it fits snug on the toe. I'm going to loop it around on both sides, and when I got it nice and snug, I'm going to tie a knot in the lampwick at both sides. Then what I do is, after that knot's in place, I take the remaining lampwick, wrap it around this side, wrap it around, and when I get up to the center here, I take both those two pieces that I wrapped around and I tie a knot there. So now the part that fits in the toe of your boot is done. The remaining part stays loose like this, and when you go to use it, you can just put your toe in it and tighten it up behind your ankle, come back around and tie a knot. This is how I do it. It works fine for me. I'm sure others will have different ideas. Now, if you don't have lampwick, you can actually use rope. Now, this setup here was on a pair of makeshift snowshoes that I made, and it works the same way. The toe goes in there, wrap around the back of the boot, and then tie it in the front. So you don't necessarily need lampwick. Lampwick works well and was traditionally used way back when, but just a piece of rope will work. Traditional wooden snowshoes can still be found either brand new. You can purchase them brand new. There's several companies that still make traditional shoes. Or you can find used ones. if you're out there looking at swap meets and flea markets and garage sales and such, a lot of times you see them, they'll turn up rather inexpensive. And just check them out. Make sure that the wood frame is solid. Make sure that things like the cross member here, everything is in good shape. The webbing, make sure that the webbing isn't torn or in bad shape. These are starting to get pretty bad, but they're still usable. Don't worry if there's not a binding on them. You can always put your own binding on or purchase a store-bought binding. Traditional snowshoes come in all different sizes, shapes, and designs that have evolved over the years. And should you want to learn a little bit more about traditional wooden snowshoes and maybe even how to make them, there's some good resource books out there. Here's one of the older Harding books. It's called Camp and Trail Methods. There's a very large section on snowshoes, their use and making of them. This book, although it's a very old book, it's still in print and it can still be found and purchased. Here's another one of the Harding books, Woodcraft by E.H. Krebs. Way back when this book was new, but it's currently still available. Reprints, of course. And here's a book that I'm not sure whether or not it's still in print. I picked this up at a flea market called the Snowshoe Book. It's got a little bit about the history of snowshoes and the different styles of snowshoes. And this runs all the way up to modern snowshoes, or modern at least when this book was printed. And this book here is a very interesting book. The L.L. Bean Guide to the Outdoors. And if you can ever find this book, it's no longer in print, but it's a fantastic resource, not just to snowshoes and but to all sorts of outdoor gear, whether it be axes, knives, cookware, snowshoes, all sorts of things, clothing, tents. It's a very interesting book, the L.L. Bean Guide to the Outdoors. Here's a ritual of sorts when carrying your snowshoes. By carrying, I mean under your arm, carrying your snowshoes. And in order to ensure both a safe trip and a safe return back to camp, you carry one shoe with the toe facing one direction and the other shoe with the tail facing the opposite direction. Till next time, take care, and thanks for watching.